Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me. We are back, and as you can see, it is time to resume Democracy 3. Picking up from where we left off, here's a summary of the current state of the nation. As reported by various ministers and departments, the GDP is low, health is good, education is okay, unemployment is high, crime is high, poverty is high. Economic forecast, good news, the economy is doing well, and this is having a positive effect on our GDP. Fantastic, we like good economy. Budget report, the budget has a small surplus of 6.77 billion, but this is small compared to overall government spending. The polls at the moment, the government is not popular amongst its citizens. 25% of them intend to vote in the next election. That is poor. Cabinet report, loyalty of the ministers is loyal, effectiveness is passable. Quote from Winston Churchill, the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. How true that was, Winston, how true indeed. So, as we see, capitalists are not our friends, trade unionists are not our friends. This is certainly a problem. What we're going to try and tackle first of all, I think we need to try and get a handle on crime, having vigilante mobs ruling the streets. Organised crime is high as well, coupled with the alcohol abuse. These are obviously quite big problems, and big problems that I intend to try and tackle first of all. Even if it does involve a little bit extra spending, we will try. So let's have a look at vigilante mobs. What can we do? Police force and CCTV cameras seem to be the big things leading into it. So let's have a look first of all at our police force. This will also help us tackle alcohol abuse as well. Currently we're spending 6.29 billion per quarter on police. Police force, every government needs to employ a police force to ensure order is kept and laws are obeyed. But it's a matter of debate exactly how much should be spent on the police. Some favour a large force with police in every street corner. Others prefer a more low-key and tolerant approach. So, we're currently spending 6 billion. If we were to increase that to say 8 billion, the 2 billion, well, 1.5 billion increase, with crime and violent crime would go down. Conservatives and state employees would go up. State employees' income slightly down. Not sure why. Alcohol abuse slightly down. Unemployment ever so slightly down as well. So that seems like a good change. That will cost us 4 of our political capital. So we will use that and fund that change. There's a slight increase in the policing. Also, CCTV cameras as well will play a part in that. CCTV cameras can be a great help in catching criminals, and cameras also deter crime. The installation costs are extremely high, and there's concerns about civil rights from people who don't like to feel the government is constantly watching them. It's not popular with voters. It would help us with crime, it would help us with violent crime, it would help us with vigilante mobs, it would increase our popularity with Conservatives. However, it would decrease our popularities with Liberals. Currently we're spending 3.29 billion per quarter. Cameras on every street corner. Now, we can increase that to facial recognition, which would be, we spent 3.5 billion a quarter. That should help slightly. That's using 9 of our political capital, which leaves us with 12. Now, let's say we're now spending, we've obviously invested here a good amount of money, so we may need to try and look to recoup some of that, and the best ways are through the tax system. So let's have a look at our implement new policy ideas and tax. So that's not going to get us any money, that's not going to get us any money. The plastic bag tax, not that popular with voters, but we have just started, so there is scope obviously to bring voters on board once we've turned around some of these systems. The plastic bags, unlike paper ones, are not biodegradable, so can last more or less forever, eventually ending up in a huge unsightly landfill. A tax on bags discourages their use and encourages people to reuse stronger, more environmentally friendly alternatives. Capitalists obviously see this just as state meddling, but the capitalists hate us already. So, it's certainly a difficult one to with the judge. Junk food tax as well, a punitive tax rate charged on unhealthy foods such as takeaway hamburgers, fizzy drinks, high sugar or fat content and pre-processed food, levied with the aim of improving the health of the nation, but it can be unpopular. And in terms of actual money brought into us, realistically after the 20 to 25 million setup costs, it's going to bring in 105 to 466. Yes, it's a good return on investment, but realistically 466 million is not going to really pay for any of the changes that we've put in the police force and the CCTV cameras. So health food subsidies, that's not going to bring anything in. Enterprise investment scheme is going to bring anything in. Recreational drugs tax, where there's no recreational drugs available at the moment. And automation tax. Technological innovation is likely brilliant. Innovation is the dark side of industrial automation, at least job loss. Less jobs means less income tax. And to make up for the loss in state income, the Economy Ministry has designed an automation tax to be paid by the most advanced companies. Now, the money from that would certainly pay between 674 million and 33.25 billion. It would certainly help pay for that, but however, you can imagine the capitalists are going to hate this. Let's have a look at a little bit more detail at this tax. You can see from where we are here, 38% tax would bring us 16.96 billion. Capitalists would go down, capitalist income would go down, of course. Trade unionists would like it though. Our technology, we are already a bit of a technological backwater, and that would go down as well. Industrial automation would also go down. However, I definitely think that would bring in some much needed cash money. So that will do us for this quarter. Let's move on to the next. Click to return to the government. I sure will. So GDP still down, health still okay, education okay, poverty is so-so, crime is on the way down, unemployment still pretty bad. So we have a policy question, freedom of information, an urgent policy question that requires immediate attention. So there have been calls for a law to increase the availability of information held on databases about citizens without their knowledge. These include records held by private medical companies, insurance companies and debt collection agencies, as well as information held by government departments. So we can reject the proposal. Nobody likes the idea of the government holding information about them, but in some circumstances this needs to be done. The government isn't out to spy on everyone, but passing this law will just make it harder for the intelligence services to keep a watch on serious criminals and terrorists, but will also affect a large number of businesses who have customer databases who will be swamped with yet more bureaucracy. Or we could propose the Freedom Act. It is essential we have this law passed. It is one of the checks and balances that require it in any truly free society. The average law-abiding citizen should not be spied on or monitored by multinational corporations with computer databases, and the potential for abuse by government agencies if the civilian cannot view what data is being stored is huge. So, if we were to reject this proposal, it's going to affect the economy. It's going to reduce our already quite high crime rates, because it will be harder for intelligence services. It's going to harm the GDP. On the other hand, if we propose the Freedom Act, then obviously liberalists are going to be happy. However, I think we have to reject this proposal. It does go against my own political leanings, but still, I believe it's best to reject that proposal. So, looking at the budget has a surplus of 24.49 billion, partially funded by the automation tax, which is great. The polls do not look good, but they have gone up, however, putting us at 35% of the vote. Security Briefing, the Human Rights Society, says it is actively encouraging its members to oppose the current government. Loyalty for the cabinet is still the same, and our quote today comes from Barack Obama: "There is not a liberal America and a conservative America, there is a United States of America." Can't really argue there. Let's have a look at the Security Briefing though. It shows that the Human Rights Society, 3.5 million members, and its membership has gone up, and the threat assessment is quite high. The ones that are likely to try and kill us, however, these ones down here with the gun icon, are quite low, which is good. So that's fine. Human rights we will deal with in due course. As you can see from this graph, Conservatives, their opinion of us has gone up, which is good, but now we need to again look at perhaps doing something to bring these capitalists on board. So The automation tax has obviously gone against us in that regard. Looking at the options we have available, we could reduce income tax. However, income tax is the single largest contributor to our budget, so I don't think we're going to touch that with a barge pole. Property tax, capital gains tax, corporation tax, and sales tax, however, perhaps something we could look at. So let's have a look at those ones in particular. So here is corporation tax, currently bringing in £19.9 billion per quarter. Corporation tax is a direct and proportionate tax on the profits of businesses. Some argue this should be the only form of taxation. Others argue that taxes stifle entrepreneurship and discourage people from starting a business. It's often one of the main ways the government brings in money. So let's have a look at how much corporation tax actually brings in our budget. There we go. So corporation tax does not bring in very much at all. Pension sales. Oh, that's expenditure, so that's not going to help us there. Corporation tax, responsible for 6.7% of our income. Automation taxes bring in 17 billion, which is responsible for 5.7. So we could look at taking out corporation tax completely, and that's almost entirely countered by the automation tax that we brought in. But I think we will reduce it. It's 12% at the moment. Let's reduce it down to, say, 5%. So that's more than half. Socialists, that will go down slightly. Capitalists, they'll go down from 7 to 4, which is good. The wealthy, that's fine, that goes down. Self-employed goes down. GDP, high earnings, socialism, and self-employed and uncompetitive economy. It has a big effect on dealing with our uncompetitive economy, which is good. So that'll mean the income's 8.81 billion. So we'll apply that. That uses 10 of our political capital this turn. Still uses as 21. So let's go back to some of the crime. So here is organised crime. This one is in part solved or dealt with by our intelligence services. So let's go in and have a wee look at our intelligence services. It's not popular with the voters, but security services are an essential tool in the fight against organised crime and terrorism. Good, reliable intelligence can be difficult and expensive to obtain, and in many cases, the methods employed can be unpopular with liberals and human rights advocates. The Human Rights Society already hates us, so that's not a problem. But let's look at moving this now. We're currently spending 6.24 billion. Let's move it, say, this is now a high-tech spy service, that's 7 billion. Let's keep it going up, keep it going up, keep it going up. Let's say 7.5 billion. And look at the effect that it has on organised crime. Massive effect, more than 10%. Liberals don't like it, but the crime itself is going down as well. Patriots do like it. So that is great. Let's go for that. 7.5 billion. It will use 7 of our remaining political capital, which is fine. That's great. Now, retired, as you can see, retired love us. So that gives us an area where maybe we can perhaps start lowering things like the state pension. Again, because the state pension is one of the single biggest expenditures. 16.9%. £46 billion. It is a massive, massive, massive drain on the economy and on our budget itself. So let's have a little look at the state pension and see what we can do with this. It is very popular with the voters. I don't mind being unpopular, but it takes 26 political capital in order to lower this. So this is a massive, massive piece of legislation if we were to put it through. So, state pensions. Rather than leave it up to the individual to provide for themselves after retirement, state pensions can guarantee a minimum standard of living for the elderly. But be aware that as life expectancy rises, the cost of the state paying out pensions increases hugely. The level of state pensions may encourage or discourage citizens to save into private pension plans. So, we could lower this. It's currently 46 billion per quarter. So we could lower this. It would bring capitalists on side. It would upset the retired. It would upset the poor. But it would massively save and give us a lot of money to use elsewhere, which is obviously hugely important if we want to implement some of the policies. So, what I think I'm going to do, we will finish this turn, and then we'll carry over our political capital into our next turn, where we can really have a look at the state pension. Let's carry on from here and see what happens. Quarterly report, nothing really has changed, but we do have a policy question here about appointing a UN ambassador. So our ambassador to the UN retires this year, and we need to name a successor as soon as possible. Much we made of whether we appoint a hardliner who sticks up for the country or someone more able to compromise. So we've got two options. We've got Regina Phillips and Steve Harris. Regina Phillips is well known as a patriot who will fight tooth and claw to get our interests represented at the UN. Seen as a popular choice among the patriotic and more conservative citizens, she is historically against foreign aid and a supporter of import tariffs, but she is not popular internationally for her patriotic stance. Steve Harris, on the other hand, a popular figure on the international scene with a reputation for solving difficult problems through compromise and understanding. A true internationalist, he is popular with the liberals and the socialists as well as foreign leaders. To be honest, I think we need to appoint the hardline, the patriotic Regina Phillips, and we can, to stand up for our interests, because we do need to stand up for our interests at the UN. We don't want to be ruled by Europe. So the budget report, the budget has a small surplus of 5.9 billion. It is small compared to overall government spending. The approval rate in the polls is disappointing. 32% would be our return on the vote, which is okay. It's still early doors. Security briefing, the Human Rights Society hates us. That's fine. Cabinet ministers are loyal. Condoleezza Rice, her quote, punish France, ignore Germany and forgive Russia. So let's have a little look at our security briefing. As you can see, memberships are dropping across the board. That is good, we like that. And we've obviously done something to make them happy. So I am okay with that. Now, 38 political capital. Now we can start with the state pensions. Now we can hit them. 46 billion in cost at the moment. Let's reduce that. Let's reduce that all the way down. 35 billion. 35 billion. Brings capitalists on side. Upsets the retired. Upsets the poor. Increase in poverty. Decrease in retirement income. But the money. That's a lot of money. A lot of money to bring into the budget. And we can do a lot of good things with that can really help us. So 12 political capital left. Let's have a look at some policies. Foreign policy, tourism ad campaign and diplomatic service. Welfare, disability, a welfare fraud department. This is also popular with voters and it brings in money. When government gives so much money out in welfare payments, it's essential the money is correctly targeted and not exploited by people making spurious claims. A dedicated fraud department would detect false claimants, recover lost money and reassure middle-income taxpayers their taxes are being spent wisely. Although it can antagonise legitimate citizens, 85% popularity with voters. Potential costs 579 million to 772 million, but the income raised 162 million to 1.13 billion. I think that is pretty good. Currently it's TV ad campaigns, if we were introduced it there, where cost outweighs the income that it brings in. But as we scale up our cost, our increase in income is obvious here. Undercover investigators. The cost is 772 million, the income 1.13. The poor might not like it, but the conservatives and the middle income love it. So let's go ahead and implement that. Brilliant. Leaves us with 8 political capital, which is going to do us until the end of this term. So let's get back to government. Here we go. GDP still down. Health, education, unemployment all pretty much remain the same. Crime is going down as a result of our increased police service and increased CCTV. Poverty is going up. That's because we've reduced the state pensions. We currently have a stress epidemic on our hands. Doctors have warned that our businesses are working people too hard, which is leading to dangerously high levels of stress for people with full-time jobs. There's calls for limits on the hours which people work to be better enforced by central government. We will take a look at that. I'm not sure if we'll do it because it would reduce the GDP, which is already in the tank, and also it would upset the capitalists who don't like us very much. Cabinet report. Cabinet ministers are loyal. The poll shows that 28% has gone down because of the reduction in the budget, in the retirement pensions. The budget has a surplus of 12.64 billion. It's too small to trigger a raise in spending or a cut in taxes, but it's there. This one comes from Mao Zedong. Politics is war without bloodshed, while war is politics without bloodshed. So let's go in and let's have a look. Popularity is down, which is not good. Homelessness is still an issue. I want to try and address this technological backwater. I want to try and address it and try and, bring investment in. We've already reduced the corporation tax, which is good. Now let's increase our science funding. Currently very low, 6.17 billion. In some countries, the majority of research is funded by private companies. State-sponsored science can be useful for investing in long-term research projects or those which may be commercially rewarding. The benefits of state sector research are freely available to the entire population rather than patented by corporations. So, I think that science is obviously very important, and I certainly believe that we will want to increase the science funding from the 6 billion it was at. Let's go right up. 10 billion, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20 billion. I want to put 20 billion into it. Where is 20? We can't even go as high as 20. 19.59 billion pounds. Particle accelerators. This will turn around technology. Absolutely turn it around. Energy efficiency, it will turn it around. GDP will take a massive rise because of this. State employees will rise. The membership of the state employees group, that will rise. Unemployment will go down. Technological backwater will go down. It might not be popular with the voters. Tough, to be honest. We need to invest heavily in science for the creation of jobs. That's great. Absolutely confirm that. Yes, it will cause problems, and if we need to, we can attack the pensions some more to pay for it. So, what else can we do? Let's have a look at the policy ideas. Let's have a look at increasing our transport. Let's have a look at these. Biofuel subsidies, bus subsidies, car emission limits, clean fuel subsidies. These are all great, but anti-gravity research grants. A cycling campaign. Carpooling subsidies. Cycling subsidies. What else have we got? Biofuel subsidies. Expensive bus subsidies. Car emission limits, clean fuel subsidies, free bus passes, that would bring the elderly back on side, that's for sure. A national monorail system, subsidised school buses, telecommuting initiatives, fuel efficiency standards, electric car initiatives, new car subsidies. Now that could certainly increase our economy, because new cars are expensive but also cause less strain on the environment, while old and used cars may be cheaper but also cause more pollution. Using new car subsidies will help everybody buy new cars that are safer and protect the environment while making motorists happy. So I think that might be a good idea. New car subsidies. 2.1 billion. Motorists are happy, oil demand goes down, motorist income goes up, car usage up, CO2 emissions would be affected, the environment, they would go happy. Asthma epidemic, it would certainly reduce that. GDP would go up, albeit slightly. So this would be 2.1 billion. I'm not really sure I want to spend quite that much, maybe 1.5 billion. Okay. So now also need to try and work with the capitalists to try and satisfy them in some way. And as you can see, there's a lot of things that lead to capitalist unhappiness. Let's have a look at the stress epidemic. It's in part caused by the working week. So let's have a look at our labour laws. Labour laws are basically restrictions on a worker's rights to strike. Capitalists argue that such restrictions are vital to prevent key workers such as power station workers, policemen and train drivers from holding the country to ransom. Trade unionists consider the right to strike to be fundamental, and then open the negotiation. And as you can see there, you know, it takes a massive amount of political capital to change that. Limit on automated trading, agricultural subsidies. Okay, I think I'm going to progress through this and go to the next week and see if we can maybe get some more political capital on board, and we can maybe try again. I'm still looking at the crime, still looking at the alcohol. There's a lot of issues there as well, but let's have a look and see what happens. So crime is still going down. We like that. GDP still hasn't risen, which is disappointing. We have the economic forecast that shows that the global economy is doing okay. It's neither a boom nor a bust cycle, which is fine. The budget report, we have a minor budget deficit of 3.02 billion, but this is not a cause for major concern at the moment. The approval rating has gone up again. It's still disappointing, but it has risen. It's up to 38% of the vote, which I'm happy with. The Human Rights Society is still trying to harass us, and again, their membership has gone back up. The Church and the Wildlife Trust has gone down, which is a bit strange. Okay. Where else are we? The Cabinet report, that's fine. So, a question on debt protection law. Debt collection agencies have been in the news because of the aggressive methods they are using to extract payment from people who owe large sums of money. These debt collection agencies provide credit to people for whom larger, more respectable companies will not lend money. A law needs to be passed to limit the ways in which such agencies can operate. So two options here: we can either limit the agency activity or allow them to operate. So limit agency activity. These agencies are preying on the weakest and the poorest in our society, often tricking them into borrowing money at exorbitant rates that could never be repaid. This is little more than extortion, and the government should act at once to limit the severity of these actions of such unscrupulous companies. Okay, I can see a point there. On the other hand, nobody forces these people to borrow money they can't repay. Add to restrict the rights of debt agencies to recover legitimate debts would be counterproductive. People need to learn to live within their means and not to expect the state to bail them out of trouble if they cannot learn to do so. I can absolutely see both sides of the argument. From my own political leanings, personally, I would restrict their activity. However, now that we're actually in the hot seat, we actually have to worry about this. I'm almost tempted to allow them to operate, but I just can't look past my own political leanings on this one, so I'm going to limit the agency activity. And our quote this time is from Napoleon Bonaparte: "A man will fight harder for his interests than for his rights." And certainly that is quite true. So 31 political capital this time. State employees are happy with us. The retired are still happy with us despite us slashing their pensions. Which possibly means I am going to raid the piggy bank of pensions once again. Let's have a little look-see. Their pension. The pensions. It would take 49 political capital to cancel the pensions entirely. How low can it go? 12 billion. We're currently at 30. I want to lower this to 20 and raid another 10 billion out the pension pot. I apologise to the elderly, sorry, but we need your cash money, I'm afraid. What policies can I implement with mere 5 political capital? A tourism ad campaign, rent controls, food stamps or alcohol awareness campaign, work safety law, business startup campaign, smart meter program, Labour Day bank holidays, city farms. What can we do on tax? Bag tax, healthy subsidies, public services, healthy eating, keep the country tidy, youth politics, free parenting classes, compulsory foreign language classes, and compulsory school sports. Okay, law and order, National Armed Forces Week, and a witness protection program. Let's see. Compulsory foreign language classes. To understand their language is the first important step to understanding other people. By introducing compulsory foreign language classes, school children are taught a selection of foreign languages early on so they can later use them well. This will reduce racial tension while improving foreign trade and relations. That seems like a good idea. A very, very good idea. It's quite popular with the voters. It'll increase foreign trade, foreign relations, and reduce racial tension. So currently 200. Let's maybe rack this up. Can we get to 3? No, 292 is as far as it can go. I'm perfectly happy with that. That's absolutely fine. Let's go for it. Implement it. Political capital is all used up this turn. So let's call it a day here. We will come back and start our second year in government, see how we get on. Currently things are on the up and up for the country, I believe. I certainly think we're doing the right thing. So, I will see you all again next time. Thank you again for tuning in. And let's make this country great again. Let's turn the UK around. Thank you very much.